Hi, everybody. My name is Jen Brand. I'm the Executive Director of the St. John's International Women's Film Festival, and we are so happy to have you all join us here tonight for the launch of Films Where You're At. So this is a long-running program of ours. It's normally called Films on the Go, but unfortunately, since we all have to stay home, we aptly renamed it Films Where You're At. So we had the launch tonight, and it's going to be screening twice a week from now until the end of August. If you go to our website, womensfilmfestival.com, all the information's there. So we're really excited about it. This year, especially, we have this fantastic lineup of local short films from all over Newfoundland and Labrador. It's a very special experience for us, and we really hope that you enjoy it and that you get to watch it and share it with your friends and have watch parties like this. So tonight we're going to be chatting with each of our 7 directors behind these great short films. Before we introduce these lovely women, I'd like to thank all of our sponsors. So our sponsors include Canadian Heritage, the Canada Council for the Arts, ArtsNL, and the Province of Newfoundland and Labrador. So thank you all for supporting our festival and the arts. So let's get right to it. First of all, I would like to introduce the amazing LaTonya Hartery. LaTonya Hartery was behind the first film, if you watched our reel already tonight, Middle River. It was a framed film that we created through the ArtSmarts program, which is actually through ArtsNL. The Framed Film Education Series has been running for nearly 20 years with the Women's Film Festival. It's a week-long youth-focused filmmaking camp. We get to pair professional film mentors with youth across Newfoundland and Labrador, and we were very fortunate to bring our camp to Conn River last year with the incredible filmmaker LaTonya Hartery as the director mentor. If you know LaTonya, you've definitely, if you've been to our festival, have seen some of her work. She was the mentor of this project. She's a writer, director, producer, and she's also the recipient of the 2018 Michelle Jackson Emerging Filmmaker Award, which is a program that our festival has run this year 10. And actually, funny enough, well, not funny, of course, the talent behind that award, Wanda Nolan, who will be joining us later tonight, as well as Jackie Hines, are also past recipients of this. So I would like to welcome LaTonya Hartery.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having me here.
I'm thrilled to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. So, LaTonya, we have last year for the closing night of the 30th Annual Women's Film Festival, we were very excited to share your work, your incredible short film. And now we're getting a chance to look at your work as a director mentor, which you have a lot of experience with, but this was a pretty special project and also brought you back to your home area of the province. Can you tell us a little bit about what this project was like for you as a chance to come home as a mentor and to work with youth in this incredible part of the island?
Yeah, it was really thrilling. I mean, it's not very often, because the film industry is quite centered in a way in St. John's. Like that's sort of the hub. So to be able to go home and in the Bakersfield area where Conn River or Miabugik is located, that's something really special. And I think that's a real credit to the Women's Film Festival and the ArtSmarts program as well, because it was your idea conceptually to go down to Conn River and make a film in the school and encourage the kids to think up an idea of what they wanted their film to be about. And that's how we approached the frame camp. I think we sort of had an idea of what we wanted to do when we went there, but it was the grade 10 class under Doreen Giles. And they sort of steered the direction of the film, and they used their natural surroundings and the story of the community to kind of shape the idea of what they wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. What was it like working with youth? So obviously all the participants were young teenagers. They had never made film, I believe, for the most part, this entire class. And the piece is, I think especially as a student film and with totally new filmmakers, so surprising what they pulled out of their community. The pride is so strong there, but then also the story and such a I think a lot of people who are going to watch this film are going to learn a lot. Can you speak a little bit about how you worked with the students to get that story, especially from their community?
Yeah, well, I mean, with the frame counts too, you really only have sort of a set period of time, 5 days. So you have to do something that's achievable, right, and you want to do something in the community. So they came up with the idea that talking about their life and what it's like to live there would be the primary thing. And then Victoria Wells, who also works with you, was there with me. And we just encouraged them also to think deeply about what some of those questions could be. I mean, yes, you could ask, hey, what is it like to live in Conn River? But what are the deeper questions they could ask? You know, what was life like once? Like, they've got a beautiful school. It is so gorgeous, a growing population also in the community, and the pride in Conn River is, you know, you can feel it. Like the teacher Brenda says, when you walk into the school, you can feel the humming, and that is like of the school, of the pride that people have in their communities. So we just encourage them to think deeply about the questions they wanted to ask and the people that they wanted to talk to. So we actually spent, you know, a good day and a half to 2 days thinking about the questions and the story. And then the last few days is when we went out to the community and interviewed people. And you can see that, yeah, it got pretty deep, you know, in terms of thinking about how the community has developed. And they asked the Sakama and people like Marilyn John some of the harder questions in terms of explaining the development and, you know, where the community is now versus where it used to be. So, yeah, but, you know, for them, it was their very first time doing it. So it took a day or two to ramp up, but they were just on their way and completely committed to the project.
That's amazing. Yeah, the thoughtfulness of the whole piece is you know, really shines through, to say the least. And have you heard much feedback from the community? You know, I'm hoping that now, because of Films Where You're At, more local folks will get a chance to watch it. But what do you think it's going to be like to share this work in such a public way and be able to share it so easily now?
Yeah, I think it's very important. And like you said, some of the feedback has been even, you know, people in the region, because Bay d'Espoir is made up of a number of communities, right? It's not just Conn River, it's Milltown, St. Albans, Head to Bay, etc. And a lot of people have commented that even though they live in the area, there's still lots of things that they didn't know. So the whole range, you know, from teenagers to people in their 80s are learning new things. And it's critical, I think, that, you know, yes, I'm there as a directing mentor helping people along, but it's really the kids who asked the questions and had the say and were key in communicating the story of their community to the public. And, you know, thankfully, to your Films Where You're At, that's going to be ongoing all summer. So there's a full summer that people, and it's not that long, 5 to 7 minutes a person can watch and experience Mi'kmaq voices basically talking about their own history and culture and the summary of life in their town. So it's a real life learning tool.
Yeah, it's a gift, really, in so many ways. Just before we wrap up, I'd love to know, is there anything that you've taken from this experience as a mentor that you're going to hold on to, or that you've used since in your own artwork as a filmmaker?
Yeah, well, just being home too, it's very scenic, and people are quite easy to work with, you know, like the support we got from people at the school and in the town in general. So I've been thinking about a longer term project that talks a little bit more about Indigenous community in Newfoundland and maybe somewhat in Labrador, but certainly in Newfoundland specifically. And I had said to the class that when I get that sort of 5-part series set up, if there's anyone in the class that would like to have further mentoring in the summers, and those guys will be in grade 12 now, you know, by the time I get that series off the ground. So it's an open invitation for anybody to join for further mentorship and maybe a summer job, because I just really enjoyed it that much. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I mean, thank you again on behalf of the festival and all of those students. And I'm thrilled to hear that. Thank you so much for bringing this film and all of those that really support and the inspiration to all of those students. We're thrilled to be able to share this story, and yeah, I'm very excited to see what happens next. Hopefully, you do get to go out there.
Thank you. Too.
Wonderful.
Yeah, thanks so much.
Wonderful. Thank you. Well, thank you so much, Latonia. So next up, I would like to welcome Brenda Griezik. Her film was called One More Day, a very powerful short documentary film that was made through the NIFCO First-Time Filmmaker Program. NIFCO is a local film cooperative here in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. And this film was also mentored by Jackie Hines, who will be joining us later in this chat as well. So this short doc really deals with the marginalization of female guards at the Her Majesty's Penitentiary, which, you know, really shows, I think, reflects what it's like for a lot of women working in very male-dominated environments. Brenda is an academic, she's an author, she's a filmmaker, and I believe that this was actually her first film, which is shocking. Welcome, please, Brenda. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi. Thank you. Really nice to be here.
Thank you. So, Brenda, is this your very first film?
Technically, no, it's not.
Okay.
I was involved in making some other films, including one with Jackie through the Framed camp.
Yes, of course. This is actually the first time I met you was through the Women's Film Festival's Frame program, yes, where you were absolutely instrumental in making that happen.
Yeah. So so that was that was probably the first time, you know, that I really got hands-on making a film. But this one in particular was you know, was a challenge in and of itself, simply because of the nature of the film.
Do you want to tell us a little bit, especially in case anyone hasn't seen the film yet, what the premise of your piece is?
Well, the film basically followed Lisa Snook, correctional officer at Her Majesty's Penitentiary in St. John's, Newfoundland, and she'd been there at the it's a penitentiary for men. She'd been there for 20 years, and she was at a couple of other penitentiaries around the province for about another 5 years. So I think all in all, she worked as a correctional officer for about 26 years. Mm-hmm. And so the premise of the film was to film her on her last day of work. Mm-hmm. And in filming her, you know, to try and capture her reflections on what her career as a correctional officer has been like, what some of the ups and the downs were, and some of the, you know, some of the challenges that she faced, and how her family were impacted. Her family were a big part of making the film. We made it at her house, you know, most. Okay. Aside from when we were at the penitentiary, we made the film at her house, and her family were present for that. So that was really nice. It was a great opportunity to look at some of the pressures that are on women correctional officers. And I suppose by extrapolation, then we could talk about women who are in occupations where they're underrepresented, you know. Mm-hmm. But the penitentiary, the prison system in and of itself is a particularly interesting and timely, I think, thing to look at, because we do want to know we want to know more about what women bring to that kind of an institution. And so the trajectory of violence is one that I thought was a thread that went through the film, and one that I tried to capture. And at the end of the day, Lisa says that, you know, these the inmates weren't the problem. You know, the real problems she faced in her career was with management. Yeah. So, and that speaks volumes, you know.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was a very, I mean, she's such a strong, powerful character, and that story is, I think, very different. That really hits you where she brings that, because I think we're almost set up to just our own bias think that maybe it was, you know, again, that system where you're working with inmates, maybe that's the problem, because I think we're set up to believe that. And then that twist that we really get to see so much of her personal struggles working there, you know?
Yeah, and there's in a short film, you really only get to, you know, dip your toe in the water, and it was really important that we have, you know, some of the themes, you know, from my perspective as the filmmaker. You know, I got to use a medium. You know, I find film a very fascinating medium, sometimes to say things that you can't say with words. And so I went to Frazee Ford for her song, and I tried to capture some of the visual aspects of the prison and the prison and the you know, just to speak just to use the film, use the visual power of the film, you know, to say something more about, you know, how like that women are really out there, you know, and really struggling to tear down those walls, but in doing so, the institutions really and truly do change, and that's an important thing here. But I only got to, like I said, I only got to dip my toe in the water with it. But it really does deserve much more attention and you know, much more detail.
Well, speaking of which, after this experience, do you think that this would be something that you would love to stretch out to make a longer piece out of?
Yeah, I do. I would love to, actually. Yeah. The prisons in Southern Ontario there's a women's network of correctional officers in the prison there, in the prison system, and they're using the film.
Wow.
They've used it a few times now, so they're using it, you know, for part of their support group and learning.
That's amazing. Well, I know that through Films Where You're At, we have been really fortunate to work with several penitentiaries, both in the province and in Ontario, actually. So I know that this will be screened for a lot of different people. So I'm very excited about that. And yeah, I do hope that you do get to stretch this film out and make a bigger piece, because it's a really powerful one, and we're really happy to include it in this series. So thank you again, and congratulations.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Brenda.
Yeah.
Great. So we're going to move on to our next director. Third up on our reel is called River of Fire by director-writer Andrea Cass. River of Fire is a fantastic short documentary about the Lantern Festival, which is part of the arts and culture here in St. John's. It happens every summer at Victoria Park, and it's, you know, considered quite a gem of the festival, of the community. And so Andrea made this as well through the NIFCO Short Time Filmmaker program, and it certainly does capture the magic of everything behind this incredible event. Andrea is joining us. She's a filmmaker and has also been new to our industry, but came in such a big way with this brilliant piece. I'd like to welcome Andrea. Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing this fantastic film with us. Can you tell me a little bit about your piece?
Yeah, River of Fire is a documentary that I made in 2018, and it was a part of the NIFCO First Time Filmmakers program. And with that program, we get to work with a mentor and a DP and a sound person who are all professional people in the film industry. And so that was really exciting. So my DP was Martine Blue, which was really fun, fantastic. And I loved working with Martine and Christian Davis and Lee Tizard. And we had a great time shooting the Lantern Festival, which is like completely and utterly magical. And I was so lucky to get to do that.
But you can tell that you have obviously so much love for this festival and this event, which, you know, you can see on the screen right away. What's your relationship with this festival, and how what inspired you about this to make such a great short doc?
Well, I have been going to the festival since my kids were really small. So this is going to be the 20th year. This is supposed to be the 20th year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so that's a long time to be going to the festival. So in 2017, I volunteered there. And so when I was there, that same year, I did the documentary filmmakers course at NIFCO, which is a fantastic course. And so I was thinking like, oh, wow, this would be such a great film to make. And I said to my friend Gail, who was there, somebody should do a film about the Lantern Festival. And so I was like, she was like, you do it. And I'm like, no, I don't think so, because I that happens. And so I took some more courses at NIFCO, and then volunteered with a lot of first-time filmmakers. And they have a mentor as well. So I got a chance to talk to the mentor and ask questions. And so when I felt ready, I went to NIFCO, and I asked them if I could do the Lantern Festival as my first time film.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And do you feel that you just named out a series of incredible local opportunities, from the NIFCO courses to this program, and opportunities for you to work on other projects and really learn on the ground? Do you feel that it's, what about this community brought you in and gave you those opportunities? Do you think that if you were living elsewhere, you would have done this, or what really attracted you to seek after this training and these opportunities?
I think that the community itself is very supportive and very open. And I remember the first time I ever went to a NIFCO class, I was extremely nervous, and I was thinking, what am I doing here? And so I actually said, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm willing to learn. So that was really great, because one of the things that you do in the course is that you pitch something, you pitch a film. So I had to get up and pitch a film. I was like, what? I don't have to do this. And anyway, I did it. And we decided to pitch, to go for the film that I pitched. And that's really validating, and it's really exciting. And as a filmmaker, you just take the reins and you see where it goes. So that's pretty much been my story. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I'm very excited that you went for that, because it's such a fantastic piece. And is there anything about this process that you discovered, especially being new and doing so much of it yourself and working with such a great team? What would you say is one of the biggest takeaways that you have from that project?
From River of Fire, definitely working and collaborating with different team members. And my team was so amazing. Like they went above and beyond. Like when you see in the film, we had to shoot a couple of days to get a lot of coverage. And so they were so hardworking. I mean, I remember at the end of the festival, it was like 11 o'clock, and we were trying to get all the lanterns and get all the coverage. And
so beautiful.
Everybody was like covered from head to toe in dirt, right? Running gun, very physically demanding, but it was an awful lot of fun. It was actually one of the best days I ever had.
Wow.
So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I hope the Lantern Festival, there's a chance that something can go ahead this summer, but if not, I certainly hope that everyone gets to see this film and share this film, because it really captures the spirit and magic of something that's so special here in our community, and you did a fantastic job. So thank you so much, and congratulations again.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for having me on.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks, take care. So next up, thank you again, Andrea. I'm very excited to be welcoming Rhonda Buckley to the conversation. Her film, Surrounded by Water, is this fantastic documentary film that is really an evolution, I think, of a lot of Rhonda's work. Rhonda is a longtime alumnus of the festival, our festival. She's a Newfoundland filmmaker who has created many award-winning films, and always with a very strong feminist point of view. And this film, Surrounded by Water, is based on the true story of Newfoundland singer and legend Joan Morrissey, who really took over and changed the face of music here in our province and beyond. So I'd like to welcome Rhonda to join me.
Hi, Jen. Thank you so much.
Hi.
From Salvage.
Thank you so much for. You're in Salvage. Is it stunning out there, I assume?
It's beautiful. Thank you.
Of course it is.
And thank
so
you to the festival. Thank you to the festival for including it.
Oh, it's our honor. You know, we've screened so much of your work, and I really think that this piece, in particular, it really does show your openness to try so many different mediums and approaches. Some of the films of yours in the past, you know, you've used animation, you've used, you know, and this piece is really interesting because there's so much reenactment, and it's a period piece, lots of challenges there. Do you want to comment a little bit about, I guess, about the piece, and for people who may not be familiar with Joan Morrissey, a little bit about what attracted you to tell that story?
Sure. Well, you are right. I've previously done documentaries with animation and narration, and I'm super grateful to the Women's Film Festival that has shown them. This is my first drama. So I wrote the script, and then I brought in a crew, and then Rachel Wilson, she played Joan Morrissey, and Kate Penny was in it acting, and Brian Merler. And so, you know, that's nerve-wracking just to do that, kind of your first drama. But I was super grateful, and the team came together, and it's, you know, I was really grateful to the Morrissey family. It's a very intense story. The community and the world of Newfoundland and Canada know Joan and own her. And so I felt like I just wanted to give other parts of her life as well. So it was a lot to it, but I loved doing it, and I was really grateful to you guys for presenting it.
Oh, it was, I mean, the pleasure was all ours, to say the least. With this too, your cast was stacked. I mean, some really incredible actors, and for Rachel in particular, I would assume a lot of a challenge for sure to be having anyone step into this role with such a legendary person that they're representing. And she's saying all of her own work as well. Is that right? The actor?
Yeah, she did. She said Rachel Wilson sang all the music that is her in the film. And, you know, I don't know if that's being brave, brazen, or just foolish. I knew there was so much to live up to in this film. I guess I was always scared. So it didn't matter what I was doing. I was just scared. But Dwayne Andrews worked with Rachel Wilson. And when we started the kind of music sessions, we kind of said, when have you sang, Rachel? And she said, yeah, a little bit in high school. So, you know,
wow.
I do those kinds of decisions, right? Like, so I had a feel for Rachel. I knew she would just give her heart and soul to it, and she did. And you know, it was an honor for the Morrissey family to receive it, and to so I felt good about that, you know. Yeah. Yeah,
it's a fantastic piece, and also feels so authentic to that time and the relationship. Did you work very long with it? How long was your shoot? Because it felt certainly that the actors had, you know, their characters had such good chemistry and relationship with one another. Did you do a lot of rehearsal, or was this a long process?
I feel hesitant to kind of admit this. It was with me for a very long time, a year and a half, kind of thing, or over a year. When I go to do a project, I guess I'm very aware of people's time. So I usually take care of a lot of the roles in the beginning, like locations coordinator, production managing. And so literally not very long before, like I think months before, I spoke to Rachel. And then really, no, there wasn't very many rehearsals. I think we were on the ground together for maybe 4 or 5 days before we shot. And then we shot a very tight shoot in 5 days. Those shoots are tricky. So you just kind of have to get there and go for it, But we had done a lot of communicating when she was in Toronto. And Marie Sharp did the wardrobe, and she was nominated for a CAFCAT award. It's also up for the Orton Film. Yeah, so in terms of the look, lots of people gave a lot of time and energy. I'm not trying to suggest it was thrown together by any means. Selecting crew in our community is a very big luxury, because they come with, Marie Sharp dressed Joan. So it doesn't get any better than that,
Well, I think it's also a big testament to you, all of your skill, all of your experience, and to the script and casting. Obviously that's only made possible because that work was done. And again, congratulations. It's a stunning piece. I think the first time I watched it immediately again afterwards. And it's, I think a really important piece to share such a legendary woman in our community as well. So thank you so much.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, congratulations. Thank you so much, Brenda, for joining. And I'm very eager for so many people to watch your fantastic new film.
Okay, it's a super program. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you. So next up, I'm eager to welcome Jackie Hines. Jackie Hines was the director mentor behind One Shot. So this was another film that was made through the St. John's International Women's Film Festival's Framed Film Education Program. This program, however, for this film went to Corner Brook, Framed West. This film was made in partnership with Grenfell Campus, which holds our province's big fine arts program, as well as College of the North Atlantic in Stephenville, which has a very incredible film program. So it's a really nice collaboration and a great way for us to get out west. And this piece was also written by alumni Karen Money, which is another big pleasure to be able to bring their work through our program. But it's really incredible mentors, as we mentioned earlier, like Latonia, and for this piece, Jackie Hines. Jackie is an award-winning filmmaker. She's really known for her generosity and dedication to our local film industry. Along with telling her stories, she certainly is a champion for promoting and advocating for others. So I'd like to welcome Jackie.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice to be here. I brought some props. These are my comfort objects. This is my, these are comfort begonias. They smell like flowers. I also have a comfort handy cam. I'll be shooting a music video on this next week. Stay tuned. And finally, my third comfort object is this comfort stick. It is a very fine piece of wood. So
where did it come from?
I'm not giving away my secrets. We're all the good secrets. A beach, definitely a beach. So nice to be here, Jen. Hi.
So nice to have you here. I mean, we've screened so many of your films as a director, writer, and so many films that you've been a producer on. And, with the Frame program, it was a big honor, and we were very thankful to have you join us as a mentor, especially for this project, which is working with a lot of young adults, people who obviously have interest and drive, or maybe they're doing an acting program or something along those lines, and this experience is so significant for them and their development. With this project, all of those people were new to film. It was a short film, short amount of time, a little to no budget. What was the experience like for you going out there and, going from meeting these people for the first time, and working with a dramatic script, new actors, and then having a rough cut really in 5 days, I believe?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it helps that the Women's Film Festival provides a lot of support to help us do that, right? Like, I mean, from the beginning, though, it was a really collaborative process with you folks, of course, Jen and yourself and the gang at the office, and Nicole as the production manager, and Victoria as the editor and stuff. But it was really fun. I think I came in, we did a bit of prep and stuff. But I remember we had a casting meeting, and you guys had received a lot of great auditions. We looked through them, and there were these two great women. And I believe the characters were initially, it was for a young man and a young woman in the script. And we got these two in particular strong actresses who gave great performances. We wanted them both. And I think somebody in the office was like, well, let's make it gay, and let's have both of the characters be female, right, for the story. And we can do that because, some of us are, so we can say that. So we can say make it gay. And so, in that sense, there was a real fun spirit, so we did a lot of prep, and we thought about the project, and we made plans, and we drove out, across the province to the West Coast, and met some people who were like, quiet and scared. And then you start putting all this information out there, and you really do start to see their minds go like this, and and they start to understand storytelling, and that they have those tools themselves, and they're putting up lights, and they're recording the sound and operating the camera, and we're guiding them, and but they're doing that work. And they start off pretty hesitant and careful, and then they're carrying lights, and they're setting it up. Oh, I know where that goes and everything. And it's a really rewarding process. I take a lot of pleasure in teaching and getting people excited, affecting people, right? I think that's why I like film so much, because it has an impact, right? It's a fun thing to impact the world, because we can and we do, right?
Yeah, significantly so. And you were known in our local community as such a leader in that world, along with, like I said, along with your own work. You have mentored and inspired and supported so many films and so many filmmakers over the years. Do you want to talk a little bit about that? I mean, it's really so much generosity in working with new talent and helping them get to where they want to be, such as earlier Brenda mentioned that you were really a mentor for this piece, which is, absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's I really like to be useful, and I like to be productive, and I have an active mind, and I have a lot of ideas, and I'm one person. I can't handle all that stuff. I want to put that energy somewhere. But also, I wouldn't be here doing well, and if it weren't for people supporting me and helping me, we don't get anywhere. A lot of us don't anyway. Some do, and God bless. But a lot of us don't get anywhere, without a bit of support and a chance to grow and to learn. I started out like writing and directing my own, and it was difficult to find your voice at an early time in my career. I guess it was challenging. And I remember I made my third or fourth short, my third official, but it was my fourth. And I wasn't loving it. I'd made bad choices. It was just these things happen, right? And I took a year off, but then I came back and I started producing with, new filmmakers because I wanted to be a part of it. And maybe on the last project I wasn't as supportive, but I also didn't know how to ask for support. So
right.
So then it's like, okay, people need support. I know I need it. And I can give it, like sometimes it's easier to work on other people's projects than your own, and you can see things that they can't see, and you can support them if they're new, right? Because you can look at the wider thing, right? So, you know, I like it, right? And I like it. And you learn from other people. Every
Right.
single person, they're new filmmakers. Brenda, she was a new, quote unquote, new filmmaker. I learned from her, you know, I just helped support her to tell that story. You know, she's a very intuitive, intelligent woman. Brenda, you are an intelligent, intuitive woman and a natural storyteller. I'm really excited to see what she does next. But like everybody that I get to work with is a privilege, I think, you know, and so I want to work with you, get in touch, make stuff.
Well, I know for a fact so many people here will also eagerly say that it's such a privilege to work with you. And I know, you know, I've worked with your films in the past, and I certainly can vouch for that. So congratulations, right? Congratulations, and thank you so much for everything that you do and for joining us. And I can't wait to see what you make next and inspire next and everything else. So thank you so much.
Yeah, same to you, Jen. Keep up the excellent work, right?
Oh,
we couldn't do it all without
you. Thanks. So next up, we are going to go to our next film, which was called Always Going, Never Gone by Wanda Nolan. Wanda is a writer, story consultant, filmmaker, and all-around creative force in our local community, to say the least. Let's start with welcome, Wanda.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, it's so exciting to share this piece. Wanda, your work as well has had such a range. You know, the films I've seen of yours, from stunning animations to dramatic shorts, and now we're seeing the genre side of your work, which is so exciting. Do you want to talk a little bit about your film, and especially it's this really incredible piece that we get to, you really spin a lot of Newfoundland folklore into this dark horror visceral piece. Can you talk a little bit about the work?
The work, yeah. Sorry, I'm blanking here. I always get nervous. The camera pointing at me makes me really nervous. Yeah, for this one, I had been doing a lot of research on Newfoundland folklore, writing another piece, and it was kind of an offshoot of this folkloric research that I was doing, and I became really interested in the banshee and as this metaphor of grief, and also just so I wanted to, and the horror that's in Newfoundland's folkloric stories, and I kind of, you know, basically shaped it like the stories that I was reading and hearing, and used some of the found footage that I had in that. So it's a little bit experimental. Like I think I shot like 3 alternate endings for my ending, and kind of ending in the edit room and stuff like that. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if I answered your question or not.
No, yes, that's fantastic. And well, and I guess speaking of I had no idea 3 endings. That is. Yeah, that's very exciting.
Yeah, definitely 2. I think 3 though. I had 3 potential endings in there. And in the script I had 2, I think. But then we shot another spot just in case, you know, if one didn't work.
Fair enough. And with this, it's stunning. I mean, the styles. It's so dramatic. It's certainly a piece that is really a pleasure to watch on a giant screen, to really take it in, and from the score to the pace to the whole treatment. For this particular piece, did you write it and then you thought of, you know, a lot of the visual treatment for this, or were you kind of driven by visuals from the get-go with this project?
Yeah, I was definitely driven by visuals for sure. Like there was a bunch of different things, like her walking, the banshee walking in the graveyard, all those shots. It's a really, really good question. I think emotion is what initially drove the script, and just kind of, exploring grief in that way, and kind of the horror and the pain and the cathartic like for me, the banshee is a catharsis, a way of expressing grief. I feel like we are so uncomfortable now talking about death and grief. And I was really interested in how at one point this was used as a way of expressing and talking about it. And I thought that was really profound, and that it was horrible and scary and all of that. And I really wanted to have those elements in the piece. So that's
yeah.
mhm.
Well, yeah, that's really, it's so interesting because I didn't know a whole lot about the history of the folklore and the legends behind it, but it's such a visceral piece, you know. And I think too, when you look at this work, the from the music and the sounds to the lighting, how was it? How did you really plan this? How was your team? Did you get to work with your actors much beforehand, or did you work in your space much? Because it's such an atmospheric piece. I assume that was obviously such a huge challenge to achieve.
Yeah, so there were so many elements. So Duncan DeYoung shot it, and he was really, really great. We talked a lot about that. Like, I wanted it all candlelight. I wanted it kind of walking into this imagined space. So it's kind of a modern story, but I wanted to kind of walk into this imagined space of Newfoundland. It's like this fight folklore, so there's this irony that she's actually walking into folklore. You know what I mean? That she's in a basement, like researching, but she's not actually living. So she walks into this world, and so. And that gave us some technical challenges because, it's a lot harder to light. I mean, it makes it so beautiful, but so we worked a lot and talked a lot about that. And of course, Sarah Harris's score just, made it sing. And also Justin Sims, who edited it, also did a lot of the sound design. So the sound in it is incredible. Like, honestly, all the stuff I'm proud of is all the other people's, the work that they did. It was just a really, really incredible team. And we were so lucky just atmospherically that the fog rolled in and it was the Petty Harbour graveyard and, all of that. Yeah, there was luck big time as well. So especially for the outdoor stuff. Yeah.
Wow. And how long did you shoot it?
It was 3 days. We had 3 days of shooting. Yeah. And I should say about the actors as well. Barry Colin Chisholm, who was amazing, Alison Kelly and Rhiannon Morgan. Like,
they're fantastic.
I learned so much from them. And so the prep, we didn't have much prep, but we basically, instead of like rehearsing, we really looked at the subtext of the story and really spent our time doing that. Just kind of obviously walking through everything, but really more about what the scene was about. Like, that's kind of how we approached the rehearsals. And they were just pros. It was just, and I was nervous about working with actors. And it was just an incredible experience, that part.
Right. So are you eager to work with actors again in your next piece?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, for sure. Yeah, I would. Very much so.
Well, I'm so thankful that you are sharing this film with us and that we're able to screen it throughout the whole province and beyond. It's an incredible piece, and it's something that certainly has such an impact and you think about for so long afterwards. So congratulations, an incredible film.
Thanks, Jen, and thanks to the festival.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks.
So last but not least, we are so excited about this piece, and I think it's a really nice, a very fitting film to wrap up the whole reel. Radical is a short film. It was produced through the National Film Board, and it's by Deanne Foley, obviously featuring the one and only, the legendary Mary Walsh. So this piece obviously profiles this comedy maven as you would. Deanne Foley is just phenomenal. Deanne Foley is an award-winning filmmaker, writer, director. She's worked in TV. She's worked in feature films. She has 3 feature films underneath her belt, so many shorts. And also this year, very recently, it was very rewarding to see Deanne celebrated by Wift Atlantic with the Wave Award, just as, one of the many acknowledgements that she certainly deserves for her incredible career. I'd like to welcome Deanne.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? I'm in the show.
Right, I love it. So Deanne, this was really fun for so many ways. First of all, it's hilarious, and you're working with, you know, one of the biggest comedic geniuses in our, you know, if you look at Canadian culture and our whole history, Mary Walsh, of course, is at the top. What was it like working with such an icon, and especially for a short piece where, you know, I assume you didn't have a whole lot of time to, not a whole lot of shoot days, and yeah, can you tell us a little bit about what it was like to approach this piece?
Well, yeah, I think from the beginning we kind of felt that Mary did deserve a mini series, but the National Film Board had actually commissioned a 5-minute piece. So I think that was like a challenge. Mary actually wrote the comedy that we see her stand up in the show. And then it's also part, you know, stand up, part comedy, and then also an interview. So yeah, it was incredible to work with Mary. I mean, she is a legend, I think, not just in Newfoundland, but in Canada. And yeah, it was a real honor and so much fun. I mean, how can it not be fun working with Mary Walsh?
Now, this obviously must have been, you know, it's really interesting to see you make a short film, because you've been making features, you know, and so many very prolific pieces at that. What was it like to go back to such a short format as a filmmaker?
Well, you know what, that's really interesting, because I had been working in feature film and television for over 10 years at that point. Mm-hmm. And so to actually do a documentary where I actually didn't have a script, I actually was terrified, because, you know, initially I'm like, okay, well, what are you going to do? Mary's going to write this piece, and then you're going to interview her. And then we're like just trying to think of the visuals. I felt like it was kind of feeling like going back to the basics, because I was so used to having a script and prepping from that. And so it was kind of like, you know, a bit topsy-turvy at first. And like, I don't know if I can do that again. So yeah, it was actually a real gift that Annette Clark asked me to direct the piece. It was commissioned for the Film Board, as I mentioned, and it was part of their 80th anniversary. 25 years ago, they had this series called 5 Feminist Minutes, and they commissioned female directors from across Canada to do 5-minute pieces. And so this was like the anniversary of this incredible project. And so they chose 4 female filmmakers from across Canada, and I was the one that represented Atlantic Canada. And then to be paired with Mary Walsh was just like such a gift. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. You know, I had just not, you know, I just come off from like not working for a bit, you know, like I had an illness and I hadn't been working. And then there was part of me that felt like, I don't know if I can do this anymore. And so to kind of start with the documentary, to start small, kind of gave me a lot of strength to realize that, yeah, I can still do this. I can still make films. I can still tell stories. Working with a small crew, Sylvain Defoe was my DOP, and it was just Mary, and we had Annette, we had Kelly Davis, and, you know, we had, you know, a great, like a small crew. And I think that was just what I needed for kind of like the next step to kind of move on to a bigger project again.
Mm-hmm. And was it titled Radical when you first started, or did the name come after?
That's a good question. I think it was like the Mary Walsh project, when the Mary Walsh documentary, I think, when I first came on board. And I think, yeah, we were trying to come up with names, and I'm not sure if it was Mary that came up with it or Annette Clark, but it was one that we all kind of felt like it was suited the piece.
Yeah, and I completely agree. And I think that title has so much weight, and with the piece and everything, you know, Mary's story in it, it suits it so well. What does kind of radical, when we look at this piece, what does it mean to you? What do you really pull away from this piece as you know, strong takeaways? Because I certainly have a lot that I hold from after seeing it.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think what really resonated with me with Mary's piece was the idea that, you know, what are women going to do in the third act? You know, like after you've had your career, after you've raised your children, you know, I think there's this idea that, you know, whatever that retirement is, or we kind of fade away from the spotlight. And for me, I think it's a time to actually really to move forward with things that you feel passionate about. I think to really find your passion, how do you make change? We are 51% of the population, and I feel that you have all this life experience behind you. And I think that's where you can really make a difference and really kind of, take all this wisdom that you've, gathered along the journey of your life, and how can you now give that back to your community, or give that back to your province, or give that back to your country. And I think that, I think I am a feminist. And I often think about, like, when I did like a master's in equality studies back in 1996 and in Ireland, and we kind of joked, like, back then, I was in my early 20s, and it was like, what's going to happen in 20 or 30 years? We're not going to need this program anymore, right? And here we are, 30 years later, and we need it more than ever. So I feel like, looking at what's happening in the world, like, I think now's the time to find your voice and to make your mark.
Yeah, I think that's also a really beautiful juxtaposition to your story of using this piece to do exact that, get back in and use your voice and give back to your community through your work as a filmmaker, because you certainly are such an inspiration and so beloved by all of our filmmakers and our community. And it was such a special thing to include this, and it was so exciting to, even though it's obviously Mary on the screen, you could really feel all of the Deanne behind it, which was a pretty magical thing.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm so glad that you're screening the film. I think Mary is amazing. I think the message is so strong, and I'm so glad that it's having another life here with the festival.
Yeah, thank you. We're very excited to be sharing it. And again, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime.
Thank you. Take care, Deanne. Well, that is it. Thank you again to these incredible, all of our brilliant filmmakers for joining us, for their generosity, for sharing these pieces with us, and for you for watching. Thank you so much for supporting us. Thank you again to all of our sponsors. And to learn more about our festival, go to womensfilmfestival.com. Our big annual festival's in October. And again, we hope that you watch these movies, that you rewatch them, that you share them, and that you support independent cinema. Thank you so much. Have a lovely night.